only call a doctor if you bleed tissue lumps bigger than a tennis ball. Excuse me? What? What? Hey, what's up, guys? It's Devin Harrington, the average Gen Xer, and welcome back to my channel, where today we are talking about the opinions of child-free people on childbirth. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I do a lot of child-free content on this channel, mostly in the form of cautionary tales by reading posts from regretful parents, but I also like to spotlight the opinions of other child-free people. And so today I've curated a bunch of Reddit posts from the child-free sub, and they are all on child-free, mostly women, wondering why anyone would sign up to give birth. And I picked these posts because that is something that I thought about all my fertile years. I could not imagine why anyone would sign up for this. And as stated on this channel before, I am just one of those people that knew from birth that I never needed to have human kids of my own. In my case, I just always knew I was here to help the animals. And so I never wanted kids. But as I've also said many times, I'm also the oldest of 4 siblings and I'm the only girl. So I was like second mama. And that totally sucked, which definitely cemented my decision to never have children of my own. But I did watch my mother go through 2 pregnancies. She had my twin brothers when I was about 4. And then she had my youngest brother, my stepfather's son, 2 days after my 11th birthday. And I was not okay with watching my mom's body go through all that it went through with pregnancy, particularly with giving birth to my youngest brother. He was a big baby. He was late. He did not want to be born. That was an omen. Anyway, and my mom almost died having him. She ended up having an emergency C-section. My uncle had to donate several pints of blood for her. I mean, it was just a real mess. And being 11 years old, having my 11th birthday party without my mom, because she was already in the hospital having him, the whole experience just really put me off giving birth. I just have never been able to understand why anyone would sign up for that, unless you could absolutely guarantee that you would be numb from the neck down and everything would go smoothly, but that's not how birth works. So let's check out these posts from child-free people giving their opinions of childbirth. But first, if you watch my content, you know on every video, I encourage all animal lovers out there to please consider fostering or volunteering on site for your local animal shelter. This is my current foster, Goldie. She is a gorgeous supermodel of puppies. She is only about 5 months old and she's so tall. She has some growing in to do of her long legs. But I've had her for about 6 weeks now. I'm not sure. She came into the shelter as a stray with a fractured pelvis and spent most of her puppyhood on crate rest. And because I was able to foster, she has now learned how to be a dog and how to get along with other dogs and live in a house and all of that good stuff. So fostering, is its own reward, but you don't have to foster if you just want to volunteer on site walking dogs or taking care of cats or bottle feeding kittens. There is an animal shelter near you that would love to have you. So please give it some thought. Thank you so much. Okay, first post here is by user Draconical Vera. Society glosses over the nasty parts of pregnancy and childbirth, and I'm sick of it, is the title. And it may be astounding to some people because we all walk around, as I always say, in our pocket, in our hand most of the time, is the entire sum total of man's knowledge throughout the history of mankind. Whatever you want to know, you can find it in your phone. And yet there are so many people that say, I had no idea this, that, or the third could happen. I had no idea it was going to be so hard to have a baby. So that's why I make this content. to put it out there. Maybe it will change someone's mind and save them a world of misery. If you don't believe that any parent ever is miserable, then please go check out the Regretful Parents subreddit. Okay, she says, this is a rant, by the way. The process of pregnancy is biologically disgusting and disturbing. I absolutely agree. Human fetuses are hyper-aggressive and hormonally controlling compared to the fetuses of most other animals. Yeah, see, I've said this before, like I've heard that cats purr while they give birth, and they give birth to a litter, you know? The other mammals don't seem to have the trouble that humans do. Okay, she goes on. Forcing females and mothers to deal with the menstrual cycle from a super thick endometrium women need to prevent fetuses from burying themselves straight through the uterine wall. Interesting. So I love the science in this post. I cannot vouch for whether or not any of this is true that Draconical Vara is saying. But I sure hope it is legit, because that is really fascinating to me. We know that dogs go into heat, female dogs, and they will bleed a little bit then, but I don't know of any other mammal that has a period like human females do. That's kind of strange. And she's saying it's because we have a super thick endometrium, that's the lining of the universe, and that we need that because human fetuses will bury themselves straight through the uterine wall. And considering I am one of gazillions of women that have had an ectopic pregnancy and nearly died from it. And that is, if you don't know, that's also called a tubal pregnancy sometimes, or maybe that was like an outdated term they used to use, but it's the fertilized egg implants in somewhere other than where it's supposed to, usually in the fallopian tube. And that makes it an unviable pregnancy. There's nothing you can do. The cure for that is abortion. Otherwise, you will die. Okay, so she goes on. Various uncomfortable pregnancy symptoms, from the fetus flooding the mother's body with hormones to suck as much of her nutrients from her as it can. A number of lethal pregnancy combinations, from the mother literally not being able to stop the fetus from putting too much strain on her body from its greedy hormonal demands. Damn the consequences. And worst of all, the inclusion in the massive hormonal changes, a mechanism to brainwash most mothers into believing that pregnancy and babies are God's gift to man, instead of being the literal physical parasites that they are. Wow, Draconical Vera is not fucking around. Technically that is true, yeah. And I have heard, I used to have this one YouTube sub who would always come on my child-free content and tell me that if a woman does not have a baby, which giving pregnancy and birth provide this so-called hormonal wash to the brain, then your brain is not fully developed unless you have children, which... who fucking cares? You know, what about all the women that can't have children? What, are they just doomed to be 5 years old forever? Come on. Part of this rant is a reaction of sheer fury at the knowledge that women were forced into this for centuries. Centuries. Let's try for tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years before birth control. Literal property of men who many times saw them only as baby-making machines, without a care to the horrors this process would inflict on their wives, mistresses, and rape victims. But I digress. I love this woman. Presenting my parents with this biological evidence resulted in discomfort and pushback, with both of them calling the process of birth a miracle. Oh my God. This just fucking burns my ass when people call birth a miracle. Okay, if you have horrendous fertility problems and you desperately want a baby and eventually you finally get pregnant, I think all of us know someone who tried for years and years and years and years and gave up with the IVF and then suddenly naturally got pregnant. Then that you could consider a miracle. But considering that someone somewhere is giving birth on this planet every second of every day, I hardly think it's a miracle. It's a biological process, just like every other mammal. A male and a female get together, the female is fertile, the male is fertile, the female gets pregnant. I mean, it's not fucking supernatural, you know? She goes on, I should stop complaining about it because there's literally nothing I can do to change it. Yeah, women were told that forever. Well, I mean, it is the way it is. The female gives birth in most species, but humans are the one species that we know of that have decision making and the ability to observe ourselves and figure out why we do what we do, and um, why do we have kids? Why, especially now in the 21st century? I feel like a broken record because I say this all the time. There's almost 8.5 billion people on Earth. Like at this point in human history, the we need to provide the next generation is not a thing anymore. There's way too many of us. We have to use our critical thinking, in my humble opinion, and be smart and stop fucking breeding. For a while anyway, or, to get more people to stop breeding. Obviously, it's a pipe dream of mine that everybody on Earth is just going to not have kids for 20 years. But hey, a girl can dream. She goes on. While they both somewhat unenthusiastically, and I still get bingoed by my mom occasionally, support my decision to be child-free, I am stinging from their refusal to validate my feelings and reasons for wanting to be child-free. Maybe I was stupid to hope for understanding from them because they themselves are parents, but they're the greatest source of social support I have at this time because I can actually see and interact with them in person. I think it's probably more that they're just of an older generation. I say this a lot on my channel. Gen X women were the very first generation of women who grew up with birth control readily available and safe legal abortion in every state in the United States. Obviously, I'm in the States. That's my culture. That's what I know. But, it's, I'm sure, the same in other countries. Gen X women were the first women who grew up with bodily autonomy, who were not expected, and obviously broad generalization, but, if you wanted to go out and have a career and not get married, that wasn't the craziest thing anyone ever heard of by the time Gen X came along. So I think that, her parents, you kind of have to accept that they are who they are if you want them to accept that you are who you are, and that they probably aren't going to support your decision to be child free. And that's okay. She goes on. Some of my feelings on this matter are petty, I think. Society shames the child free for not submitting to the cult of parenthood. Yes, they do. So why is it suddenly not okay to push back with the disgusting details of the majority societal view? It's probably also exacerbated by the chronic stress of the past months, which has led to increasing irritability and emotional swings. I guess I'm just tired of being brushed off about this. I know it's not as bad as what other child-free people face, but talking about it here is seeming to help, honestly. Thanks for listening. You are quite welcome, Draconical Vera. Some of the comments here. Effective Abrocoma 31. It's very good to rant. I agree with everything you said here. Whenever I talk badly about pregnancy, I'm being told I'm being too negative and I need to focus on the positives. Bullshit. You need to look logically at the thing that changes your life and your body forever. That's the thing. To me, there are no positives. I agree. The more I learn about pregnancy and childbirth, the more child-free I become. It's so important to talk about the negatives. We can't pretend that pregnancy is the wonderful thing full of sunshine and rainbows. Yeah. Why does it make women fucking puke for months on end? Not all, but most. A lot of women get morning sickness. That's a sign of toxicity. The reality is that even the healthiest low-risk pregnancies are brutal. I think society doesn't like us talking about it badly because it undoes the brainwashing, exactly, which is why this channel exists. And if I can unbrainwash one person, I will have accomplished my mission. It gives people the opportunity to think for themselves. If there's anything that pronatalism hates, it's people actually thinking about having children rather than just doing it because it's what you're supposed to do. Not anymore, it isn't. Not anymore. Not with the price of everything. Not with the government being destabilized by Project 2025 here in the States. No. Mm-mm. It's not necessary. It's not what you're supposed to do. You want to make your life harder? By all means, go ahead. If you are the person who desperately wants children, by all means, have children. If your heart's in the right place and you are prepared to do it, you should have children. Everybody else, fucking chill. Someone who deleted their account said, and then there's the days after the birth. Quote, only call a doctor if you bleed tissue lumps bigger than a tennis ball. Excuse me, what? What? Bigger than a tennis ball? I have dogs. I know how big a tennis ball is. That is fucking disgusting. And the part where it's considered normal to pee when you sneeze or laugh several years after giving birth. Yeah, how about it? That's just, I mean, what a price to pay. Is the price on your body worth it? Because, yeah, there are women like Gisele Bundchen, the model, who I read an interview with where she said, oh, it didn't even hurt giving birth. I think she had a water birth, like her tiny little narrow hips, no problem. Yeah, that baby just came strolling right out. But for most women, pregnancy is fucking hard. Someone else who there's a lot of people who deleted their account. Lochia is the stuff of fucking nightmares. I can't imagine leaking jellyfish-sized clots for weeks on end, all after enduring the torture that is childbirth. Holy shit. Do I have to look up Lochia? Okay. Be brave. Let's do it. Okay, learn something new every day. So lochia, if I'm saying it correctly, is the vaginal discharge you have after giving birth, and it goes on for weeks, usually. It contains a mix of blood, mucus, and uterine tissue and has a stale, musty odor. Disgusting. I can do without that. Finishing up some comments here on this post because they are just freaking golden. Manisha Vade 1 said, pregnancy is a shit thing, no doubt. Only I can't understand and imagine how women have been bearing it. The pain of pregnancy is called the world's worst pain that one can go through. Despite it being so painful, we are, she says 7.6 billion. I think it's up to 8.3 right now. Almost 8.5 billion people on Earth. Fire Kitty 3 said, don't forget the rates of multiple health conditions increasing if you have given birth. For example, 35% of women who have given birth recently suffer from some type of pelvic prolapse. Other studies and doctors estimate that nearly half of all mothers suffer from a prolapse between the birth and menopause. A prolapse is your uterus or rectum hanging out of your body, because the muscles are too wrecked to hold it in. She goes on, childbirth really wrecks your body, and even worse, its effects can last for years to come. I might say the rest of your life. Childbirth makes your feet bigger, makes your teeth loose. You can lose teeth because the fetus is leaching calcium out of your body. I mean, fuck that. She goes on, my aunt had her last C-section 24 years ago, and she still has little to no feeling in the area, meaning the scar. Yeah. Wanderlust Heart said, surgical nurse who has witnessed many fixes. There are some conditions that we fix that are horrifying. One includes me asking, but how do you know you have X disease? Well, if you feel you have to poop, and you do, but you still have to, and stick a finger in your vagina and push down towards your butt and poop. That's how. How do I avoid? True answer, poop when you have to and don't have kids, but mostly don't have kids. Oh my God. And apparently that medically is called rectocele and cystocele. Recto is rectum, cysto is bladder. What the actual fuck, people? See, this is the shit. I didn't even know that could happen. I mean, I was today years old when I found out about rectocele and cystocele. Another person who deleted their account said, "It's true. Children are horrifying. They literally suck the life and nutrients out of you, forever changing your own body chemistry, ensuring you'll never be the same again. You're physically forever changed, negatively for the long term, and no one ever mentions it." I suppose you just learn to live with it, right? Another person who deleted their account, "If I seriously hear the line miracle of childbirth one more time, I will smash something." Yeah, me too. I'll help you. Or a beautiful time, or she's glowing, and a slew of other nauseating things and phrases people use to describe pregnancy as some magical time where fingernails and hair grow rich and fast, and skin is just glowing, and everyone is just beautiful and happy, and a new baby is such a blessing. Gag, puke, hurl. Ugh, no. I mean, what else do you need to say, really? She goes on, "It's disgusting. I lived with my sister when she was pregnant with her first. I was 9. She was 17. Her shotgun husband was up north logging for 2 months, so I stayed with her. She burped, passed gas, puked, had to sleep sitting up because the baby put a ton of pressure on her organs. She didn't go a single day without pain. She lived in the bathroom. Her skin stretched and broke to stretch marks, and she was brutally uncomfortable." And this girl is 17 when women are supposedly at their most fit to give birth. "When she had her kid, I went with our parents to the hospital. I heard her screaming down the hallway, and everyone was normal about it. My sister is screaming in agony. That's not normal. They cut her from her... They cut her from her asshole to her vagina. Stitches all over the place. Mucus plugs, mucus, blood, and all sorts of fluids leaked for a month, not to mention even more pain from being cut. Then she's got a baby who sprouted teeth just as he was hitting the 2-month mark, and he was still nursing. So she's getting bit while he's trying to feed. Ew. And she's just a kid herself, wiping up baby puke and shit, constantly doing laundry and getting 0 sleep because stupid hubby was stupid and a drunk and never home. And here I am now 10 helping my sister raise her kid." Jesus fucking Christ. And this girl is 17. And if she had had anyone smart in her life that would have taken her somewhere to terminate that pregnancy, she could be a normal 17-year-old, maybe going to college, maybe traveling, maybe working a job, maybe just being a normal freaking 17-year-old. This is so gross. None of this was told to her or me by our mother, who was totally hands-off because she was mortified that my sister got knocked up at 16. Her solution was to force her to marry a guy she didn't even like, for appearance's sake, of course. If that doesn't make a gal child-free, nothing will. Under no circumstances would I look on that near year of my life and go, "Oh my God, I want one so bad." My sister had 2 more kids by him. Ew. She's now a grandma to 3. She's standoffish to all 6, and she wasn't a great mother, and she still isn't. She divorced the dude when her youngest was about 13. The eldest, who's the dad of the 3 grandkids, the other 2 don't want kids. And all 3 are married and in their mid to late 30s now. And the eldest, who is the dad of 3, is an alcoholic like his dad, who treated all 3 kids like garbage. I was horrified. Child-free since age 9. I'm almost 49 now, and I never regretted it. Not once. Not once in that year I stayed with her did I see one thing beautiful about a baby or pregnancy or birth. Nothing blessed or special. Hard pass. Oh my God. Somebody pin this comment somewhere for every teenage girl to read. Okay, next post. I do try to keep my videos around the 30-minute mark because that seems to be the sweet spot, but this is a big topic, and it is a topic that should be discussed, and for some reason it is not being discussed. I can't imagine why. Okay, another person who deleted their account and they wrote, "Childbirth is horrific." Also a rant. Source, ER nurse of 5 years. You all want an idea of what I've seen? Picture this, if you will: screaming, skin tearing, bleeding. Oh God, the bleeding, the crying, the panic, and the afterbirth. The things I have seen, heard, and smelled, please. Having a child is not some beautiful thing. It's horrendous. I sit here typing from the washroom after attending an emergency birth. Absolute barf. Okay. Turtle the Redditor said, "Do you think you'll have PTSD when you retire because of everything you've seen, heard, and smelled? Just working in a hospital in general?" Yeah, I would imagine. Stargate commented, "Yes, but one must note that it's not just the work itself. Healthcare workers across the world are notoriously overworked, underpaid, and generally face very stressful work environments. Imagine going into the profession to help people and work in a hospital. You barely have time to take care of your duties. You can't even just have a nice chat with a patient without feeling time passing way too fast. Sometimes you want to be there for someone, but you can't. Sometimes you will see negligence and bad things, and you can't do anything about it. The job is shit, and the people that put up with it are truly some special folks." Elmer Korn said, "That's why I got out of the bedside role. Way too much charting because of lawyers and shithead patients who decide that frivolous malpractice suits are helpful. For themselves, anyway. Such a self-fulfilling prophecy. More charting equals less patient care, equals more malpractice suits, and it equals even more charting, and so on. I don't work in the medical field, so I really am not qualified to comment on that, but I'll take their word for it because we all know the American healthcare system is fucked up. The constant stress of dealing with shitty, outdated systems while trying to keep kids alive was too much. I got into this field to help people, but honestly, I just felt like a robot doing data entry in some places. Ugh, that sucks." Display of character said, "Trigger warning, some mention of suicidal ideation, but nothing graphic. I don't work in a hospital, but I do work in a mental health facility, not a hospital, which is an important distinction. They typically get even more acute patients or clients. And I work with RNs and ARNPs, that's nurse practitioner, that have worked in full-fledged hospitals. What I'll say for myself is that I've certainly seen things that I won't be able to forget. It absolutely can be traumatic. A great deal of continuing education in the field centers around self-care. Well, that's good, both to prevent burnout and turnover, but also to avert these kinds of long-term ill effects. Many people have their own therapists, and I'm lucky because my coworkers are generally very supportive, and I try to give the same back to them. I haven't seen the goriest or most disgusting injuries. I have witnessed and helped thwart several unalivement attempts over the course of my career, which is still relatively young, and attempts aren't very common. Those don't really fade, and I tend to take solace that we did our jobs and kept the person safe. I do think generally that I have a larger capacity and or patience to work with this population, but at least my field does put emphasis on self-care, and that needs to continue or increase as time goes on. One shudders to think how much trauma this pandemic has caused and what the long-term ramifications are. To loop this around to what this subreddit is about, my work doesn't pay well and the emotional toll and responsibility is quite high, and one of the major reasons I don't want kids. I simply can't do what I do and also have to be responsible for another life when I come home from work. I do sincerely hope that hospital staff are afforded something similar. Unfortunately, from what I've heard from my medical coworkers, that isn't always the case." Yeah, probably also in the United States, I would guess. Okay, last post for today, and this is from Pizza Goodness. "Childbirth sounds horrifying." Once again, this is a rant. "My mom's sister and I were talking about babies and childbirth after dinner the other night. My parents, thank goodness, both support my decision to not have children. Excellent. But my sister, who is actively trying to conceive, just can't quite wrap her head around it. She loses her mind every time I bring up getting permanently fixed, and she can't seem to accept that I don't want children. Yeah, why does anyone care? What are they afraid, like the human race is going to die out if one person doesn't have kids? The human race wouldn't die out if half of us didn't have kids. So let's aim for that, okay? She goes on. Anyway, she decides to tell me about her sister-in-law's birthing experience and proceeds to tell me about how when she tore up all the way to her urethra. No, thank you. I immediately felt sick and had a rather vulgar and disgusted reaction to this piece of information. Example, why the fuck would I ever put my body through that torture and other various combinations of foul language and disbelief? I'm sure you all get the idea. She didn't even bat an eye. Her response was, oh, you forget most of it afterward anyway. What? That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And none of that matters once your baby is in your arms. Ew. She somehow seemed disgusted with me for not wanting to go through the beautiful experience of childbirth. I wish I could make her understand that motherhood just isn't for me, for so many reasons. I like my life the way it is. I love my life the way it is. I like being able to spend my money on me. My husband is older and doesn't want any more children. I don't want to destroy my body. I don't want someone to constantly be depending on me. And for the love of God, my favorite thing in the world is sleep. So that's really all. I just needed to get that off my chest, someplace where I would be understood. Yes. And it's Pizza Goddess. Jeez. Pizza Goddess, indeed. I agree with everything you said. Queen of the Boring commented, yeah, no, tearing is the least of your worries. There's also pelvic deformations, nerve damage, loss of sex drive, possible clitoral damage, uterine prolapse, bleeding out, death. And that's just childbirth. Afterwards, there's postpartum mental illnesses like depression and psychosis. Add lack of sleep, and it gets so much worse. Then you never quite lose the baby weight, and you have stretch marks, the pooch. Boobs act weird and leak and have body fluids that aren't your own on you. Ugh. Sure, some women are able to forget it. They're able to connect with their babies and nurture them, and those are the women who should have children. But that is not the case for many, many, many women. Others get PTSD from it and aren't able to connect with their babies and are reduced to just going through the motions. Am I correct in assuming that your sister does not have children yet? If she does ever give birth, wait a few months and then ask how she's doing. Or better yet, pop on over for a surprise visit. Ask her hubby how he's holding up. Guarantee at least one of them is miserable unless they absolutely have the desire for child rearing. Oh, yes. And Pizza Goddess responded, ugh, thank you for making me shudder all over again. Ugh, blech. Yes, you're correct that they are trying for their first. They both talk about how much they want kids and how much they just want to be pregnant now. But I just don't think either of them really understands. I hope that when they finally have a baby, it's everything they both ever wanted. And I know she will be a great mom, but I'm scared for her that it won't be all she ever dreamed of. And it is 99.9% likely that it's not going to be what she dreamed of. And hey, and caveat there, I know there are some women out there who absolutely have no issue with anything that a child does. They just take it in their stride. I can absolutely relate to that with how I foster puppies. I was born to be an animal mama, and I have cleaned up so much puppy poop off the carpets in my brand new house that I just bought, and it doesn't bother me. That's what puppies do. They're being house trained. It's not the end of the world. They make a mess. They destroy stuff. They chew the furniture. They chew the walls. They are learning. And so clearly I was meant to foster puppies. And there are some women who were absolutely meant to be moms. But not everyone with a uterus is meant to use it. And that needs to become normalized. I mean, beyond normalized. Someone else who deleted their account, diastasis recti, when your abdominal muscles split after pregnancy. And no matter what your fitness level, you always look pregnant. It's incurable. What? They can't fix that with a tummy tuck? Come on. Calamity thrives. Sorry, but this is untrue. Physical therapy and sometimes even surgery can be used to correct this. And she said, thanks for the correction. Okay. Someone else who deleted their account. Women can die from childbirth, incontinence, tearing, infection, leading to loss of limbs. Pregnancy and birth can be an ordeal. Unnatural Vegan did a video response to Vegan Gains about the topic of having kids on YouTube, and someone in the comments said fear of childbirth is not a good reason to not want to have kids because it's just a few hours of pain. Jesus Christ. No. Women out there, it's your body. If you don't want kids, don't fucking have them. You don't owe the world or anyone else children. If you don't want them, don't have them. I mean, how are we going backwards here, you know? Just a couple more comments on this. Jesse Cat 123 said, a few hours of pain, LOL. Let them tell that to people who are in labor for 24 plus hours. I had a good friend recently have a baby and it took 48 hours. Nope. Yeah, there are women who are in labor for days. Days. Sky Eyes 9 said, or as Rita Rudner said in another bit, I love Rita Rudner, I keep getting told about women who were in labor for 36 hours. I don't want to do something that feels good for 36 hours. TES Dragon Age. Or like my sister, you could have pelvic prolapse, which is very common, and have a lifetime of your organs dropping out through your vaginal cavity. And then someone else who deleted their account said, my grandmother had this. She gave birth to 12 children. I can't imagine how ruined her body must have been. I think about that kind of thing a lot as well, because one of my great-grandmothers, my grandfather was the youngest of 15. And these were 15 kids, who knows how many she had that didn't survive, all born at home, no medical attention. I mean, she lived, so if there was some sort of emergency, she did get some medical attention, but 15 births where the baby lived. Nobody fucking needs 15 kids. I mean, they were French Catholics, you know, so, but I can't imagine. And the fact that uterine prolapse is so common, and it was so shameful, and women were afraid to talk about it, and are probably still afraid to talk about it, and still feel shame. But back then, in the 20s, for God's sake, in the early 20th century, I mean, my great-grandma probably had a uterine prolapse for decades, you know? It's no wonder she died at 60. It's just, nothing is worth that. I mean, maybe back in the day, we needed more people to work the farm or whatever. We don't live in that world anymore, people. And in the U.S., we are living in a world where legislation is happening to make it so that you don't get to have kid after kid after kid and be on social services and have that dollar number increase with each kid. And I know it's a very small percentage of people on welfare who do take advantage of the system like that. And let's talk about corporate welfare while we're at it, because I don't want my tax dollars going to this fucking subsidizing of the sugar industry, but I digress. But I don't think anybody would have 8, 9, 10 kids for the fuck of it. I think if you're doing that nowadays, it's for the government benefits. And I'm talking about in the US. Because otherwise, why would you do that to your body? If you can't afford 1 kid, why are you having 9, you know? I've been watching a lot of the TikTok stuff about the food stamp crisis in the United States. So if you want me to do any kind of content on that from a child-free perspective, let me know, because it's rattling around in my brain. And this is no shame to anyone who needs to be on benefits. My mom was a single mom for several years. I remember standing in line for food stamps. We were very ashamed. This is back in the 70s. You know, this is a systemic problem going on for a long time. And it's not about people who can't afford food and need to be on food stamps. It's about corporate greed. So let's just be clear about that. But yeah, the system needs to be broken down and rebuilt. Anyway, this is not a political channel. I'm not going to go further into that. But just one more thing here about uterine prolapse. Sky Eyes added, and the terrible thing is that vaginal and or uterine prolapse can happen after having only one baby. But I imagine that having given birth to 12, your grandmother had a certified ticket to ride this horror. Well, that's what I have for you today, guys. Good times, huh? If you made it to the end, you are such a trooper. And I thank you so much for stopping by to hear me talk shit on the internet. If you would please give this video a like, it really does help the channel. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. I know that there are plenty of women out there who have kids who watch my content. So moms out there, please give us the real deal. Let us know. Did you have any horrors during birth? Was it worth it? Did you have that driving need to have babies since you were a kid? I'm curious about that, because those are the people who really seem to be happy as parents, or the ones who really knew from the get-go that they wanted to nurture children. And I relate. I've always wanted to nurture animals, any animals. So we're not that different. Anyway, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.